Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to episode 37 of the Gold Standard College Basketball Podcast, aka your mom's favorite show. Thank you for once again tuning in. My boy Bobby Hoops, he is rocking with. You got some brown water tonight, or is that just like?
I got some brown water.
Attaboy. I've got Poppy, my prebiotic soda, lemon lime. I should have drank it before Monterey's tonight, but I didn't get to it. So.
Well,
basketball's dumb.
Yeah, basketball's dumb. Let's drink some brown water.
Yeah.
Stupid. Hey, if you what TV shows are you watching these days? You got any good shows?
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for right now.
Well, you brought it up. Is there a show that you're like jobbing with right now?
Oh man. Well, I mean, Aaron and I just finished Severance. You know, we always watching Survivor, but sports just lead to despair and disappointment. So I'm looking for something else to cheer me up.
Sure. Big Papa's back on that righteous gemstone grind.
We've not started that new season yet.
That's episode 4, season 4. It's fantastic.
So funny.
Hard to beat a Danny McBride written TV show.
So funny.
With Walter. What's Walter's last name? Anyhow, he's in White Lotus too. But
Walton Goggins.
Walton Goggins. Thank you.
Oh, he's so funny.
God, yeah. I'm not one who, I don't know, kind of dead inside. Somebody asked me about sports. Like I don't watch. I don't have a team.
Yeah.
So
stupid.
I mean, yeah, if you're into basketball, Final Four's happening this weekend, so like have fun watching Florida, Houston, and Duke. I don't care.
Well, yeah. All chalk.
Cool.
Awesome.
You pick all 1 seeds the first time since like the second time ever since 1979. Cool. Pick all 1 seeds. I don't care. First time since 2008. Cool. Ironically, in San Antonio again. Fine. Have at it. I don't care.
Speaking of picking all ones, quick aside, did you happen to see the Mark Titus Jay Williams feud, not feud?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Do you want to inform the listeners of
there's really nothing there? Not a whole lot to it other than our boy Mark Titus, as we've mentioned a few times, college basketball guy for Barstool. They after the selection Sunday, he and his kind of crew were picking their bracket. They're getting down to the Final Four, and around this time, all the big media people had already put out their brackets, and it was a bit of not even a story, but just, oh, hey, check out Jay Williams. His entire Elite Eight are 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. His Final Fours are all 1-1, 1-1, 1.
Yeah.
And Titus was very quick. I'm going to change his wording a little bit, but Titus is basically calling him a coward.
Sure.
He's like, what a coward, picking all 1s and 2s. Oh, my gosh, what a freaking coward, dude. So anyway, who do I have in my 1-2, 1-2, 1-3, so he had the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And somehow, one way or another, that video got put on the social media as it did. And Jay Williams, I guess, stumbled upon this video.
Shocker. Yeah.
But Jay Williams didn't watch the whole thing. So he stops watching the video right as Titus is calling him a coward. And he writes a novel to Titus calling him all kind,
Bro,
how dare you call me all you whatever. And anyway, it's just like, that's about right.
Yeah. And, like you said, Mark Titus was like, well, oops, I guess we technically did end up picking basically the same thing. How we got there was, oh, well, that was different, but
yeah.
And Mark tried to, he even admitted, he's like, obviously you didn't watch the whole video because I ended up apologizing in the end. I'm like, we end up literally picking the same thing.
Yeah.
Whoops, my bad. Just basketball nerds beefing over the internet. No big deal. Couldn't be me. Couldn't be
College
me
basketball,
beefing about
man.
like fraudulent head coaches leaving College Station to go to a new gig because they graduated from one place to go to Maryland because they just couldn't handle the heat, knowing the administration at College Station didn't even want him there. So because he's got all big bags of money, he's like, you know what? I'm going north. Where, to be honest, Buzz, are you really a culture fit in Maryland? Hoops, I think you could speak more to that. Being well, I know like Terps isn't the team, but like it's a backup team in some way. It's kind of my backup team too. I feel like I've like taken that on from a persona
Oh,
standpoint via
yeah.
the show, via you. Like I pull for the Terps because of you. So I don't know like what you felt like. I mean, honestly, were you kind of like? I remember when I sent you the screenshot from Burner Ball. I was like, there was scuttlebutt about it, and then it was like, oh, this is happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To me, I guess like, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into the whole Kevin Willard of it all, but in terms of like hiring Buzz Williams, if you're at the University of Maryland, I actually think it's not a bad, considering the situation they're in. They don't have an athletic director right now. They have this super embarrassing, ugly parting of ways with Kevin Willard. Not so much on their part. I mean, if you're like a few of my Maryland buddies who are like really into it can tell you that, you know, the university also had, there's things to point to that they were at fault of, that Kevin Willard and all of his grievances maybe had a bit of a point in. But taking all that into account, hiring a coach like Buzz Williams, who like, is he a good fit at Maryland? I don't know. I mean, he coached a few years at Virginia Tech. It's, you know, they were I guess they were ACC, still are at the, you know, like he's been in that neck of the woods. He's been kind of in that area. I think he probably had to go up to the DC area to recruit a little bit. But all things considered, I think it's at least a like steadying move by Maryland. I mean, because at this point, you kind of know what you're getting from Buzz. He did it. He's done the same thing for the most part at Marquette. Yeah. He did it at Virginia Tech, A&M. He's going to be there for, 4 or 5 years. They're going to be a team with probably a high floor with a lowish ceiling. They're going to, play hard.
Damn good on defense.
They're going to play really good defense. I think he's been a pretty good recruiter. And, I mean, there's definitely a lot of talent in the DC area. So, I mean, like I said, all things considered, I think it's a pretty good move. I think my Maryland buddies would tell you that this is the steadying move. I don't think anyone's trying to convince themselves that, where Kevin Willard kind of got them to, that Buzz is going to take it and continue that upward trajectory. I mean, maybe, but I think everyone kind of thinks it's like, okay, have Buzz come in, you know what you're getting, steady the shit, we'll be competitive for a few years, because really Maryland hadn't been that competitive before these last few years with Kevin Willard. So, and then when Buzz probably does the Buzz thing and he's gone in 4 to 5 years, like, okay, then we'll hopefully have rebuilt the athletic, have a good athletic director in place and be ready to make a big swing for, a big hire. So all things considered, I mean, I'm sure they'll take a step back next year. They'll lose everybody. I mean, they've already, we'll at the Tennessee part, we can talk about Jacoby Gillespie here in a little bit. They're good point guard. He's in the transfer portal. The star of the team, Derek Queen. He's definitely going to the draft. So they're losing pretty much everybody. The Crab Five will be no more. But all things considered, I think they made out okay.
You thought about that way better than I did. But
hey, I've
that's why I asked. I mean,
I've been talking a lot of Maryland basketball with some buddies. Shout out John Gillick, the my boy. But yeah, weird few weeks for Maryland.
yeah, I'll say this real quick about the Kevin Willard stuff, I'll try to keep it brief. This is via Matt Norlander on his show at CBS College Basketball. Basically did a show for like 13 minutes, kind of explaining background. Was like Kevin Willard thing essentially got pretty toxic in the background, where he was wanting to demand a lot more money. I think from boosters, administration felt like y'all don't really care about basketball, which I feel like is not true. If there's one place in Maryland, sport wise, that they do care about, basketball. But like most things, you got to give them a reason to. Quite frankly, you got to give them a reason to give it to
Sure.
them. If you want them to spend money, come to games, all that stuff. If you're not winning, then
I can't speak to the like athletic department and what they think about it. I can absolutely attest to it. There's plenty of boosters and people with influence and money in that area who want to see that basketball team get back to where they were in the 2000s and especially the early 2000s. So I definitely know that.
So that's basically what Norlander was getting at. It just got pretty sideways. Willard starts looking for a way out, and he said it sounded like it kind of started looking several months ago, which kind of made sense. So there was like a 48-hour or so brief window where he maybe was kind of like, maybe this could still work, but then when he was literally getting booed by Maryland fans, like on the way from the team hotel to the Sweet 16 game, he was like, all right, that's kind of my sign. I don't think this is going to keep working out. And I guess kudos to Willard. I mean, gets the new job at Villanova.
And that's like, I was listening to Scott Van Pelt's podcast this week. Scott Van Pelt, probably like the Maryland fan of like the media world. Like if there's any like noted, respected voice on Maryland sports, it would be Scott Van Pelt. And his long thing was basically like, Kevin Willard, like I can totally understand you wanting to take the Nova job. I can totally get it. It makes sense. He's got Big East ties. Nova doesn't have to compete with a football program for money. Right. They can give him it's just an easier. There's less of a tug of war over resources at a place like Nova. Obviously, they won multiple championships in the last decade. So he's basically laying all that out. Like, it makes sense that you would be interested in leaving to go to a place like that. I can get behind it. But you don't have to crap all over this university that was pretty firmly behind him, at least the fans, for the past few years. Like, he just couldn't have handled it worse, really. In the way he talked about it in the press conferences, there was that report that the night before the Sweet 16 game, he wasn't present at the team dinner, which it was just a report. I guess it's true, but it was reported.
I think it is. Yeah.
That basically it was like, I think there's a way to do. I mean, not that I want to give flowers to anybody, but like, you could look at the way Will Wade handled it at McNeese State, where like it was a reported, confirmed story that Will Wade, who is the active coach of an NCAA tournament team in McNeese, was taking the job at NC State. And Will Wade, credit to him, was up front. He's like, yep, I'm taking the job. I'm going to NC State. I'm excited to get to work there, but the job's not finished here. I'm going to, finish my time here with these guys who have, committed to me. So I'm committing to them. Like, say what you will about Will Wade. That's the right way to go about it. Like, I think people are way more understanding of like, yeah, you're taking a better job. It makes sense, but leave with class. And Willard, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
So he is absolutely public enemy number one in College Park, Maryland right now.
Yeah, I think when you try to do the thing where you get behind a mic and think, if I pants the people who kind of have my back, especially financially,
Yeah.
behind a microphone, thinking like, oh, I'm gonna kind of like call all them out from up front on a big stage where it's gonna get a lot of hits and clicks, especially from social media standpoint, goes viral. Usually doesn't go well.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say Matt Norlander and they're kind of getting on that. They're like, yeah, that usually just doesn't go well.
No.
And they were like, he's done it. Several other coaches they named have done it. They're just like, we don't really get what's the repeating pattern of behavior here. That hey, just don't get behind a microphone to do that. That's just if you're upset, like go have a conversation privately with boosters, whoever you need to. But when you start making fun of, I don't know if he's necessarily making fun. It's not making fun of that. It's just like you're arguing and yelling into a microphone about the people who cut the checks.
Mm-hmm.
Usually not going to be pretty happy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and then there's, I didn't go back in time to look at what was actually said and happened, but like there's plenty of people talking about how the way Willard handled all this was not too dissimilar for the way he handled leaving Seton Hall to go to Maryland 3 years ago. That he stepped all over himself there, that he, it was a disgraceful exit there. So it's kind of like, maybe this is kind of just who Kevin Willard is. Which is kind of funny for a guy who like had never made a Sweet 16 before now. Who, credit to him, he built a good team this year at Maryland. But just a icky way that all went down. Which is a shame because they were such a good team.
Yeah, it was fun to watch them. Well, good luck to Buzz. Hopefully for the sake of Maryland boys, I guess for you, kind of me too, in a funny way from afar. I don't doubt, like you said already at the couple minutes ago, like I think Buzz will have success there. I think that there's nothing like having a shot in the arm and feeling rejuvenated, like a good coaching search and a new head ball coach. That usually it pretty naturally reunites the fan base to some degree. It may not be 100%, but it's definitely going to feel probably like 90 plus.
Yeah.
He'll recruit. Boosters will give him money.
They'll play hard.
Yeah. Whatever. Maryland, just, get ready for your ball games to be in the 60s. Maybe in the 70s. I don't know. Have fun with that. If you like that kind of scoring game. I do not, personally. And I guess get ready for him to injure other teams. If you like WWE style basketball games, and have fun with that. I'm not still mad about him taking out basically Lamont Butler for the year, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Shocker. Just holding in all the grievances right now and the gripes. Well, I kind of had a thought. Do you want to go with me down the path of maybe giving a quick grade for all of the SEC teams and I'm going to give a name of the team and we'll just, off the top of our heads, we'll just give a grade of let's do it. That's what I think they finished. So let me pull the standings real quick. All right. Starting with the bottom of the barrel. Here we go. South Carolina.
Ooh, woof.
Does context matter? Meaning how they did last year compared to this year, and do you give them an F?
It was such a step back.
2-16 in the league.
I mean, yeah, if not an F, then a D minus. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like these first 3 or 4 are probably a little bit similar.
Hey, South Carolina moving forward. Shout out to Michi Johnson, who has who was one of their better players last year when South Carolina had one of if not their best basketball seasons in a long time. Mm-hmm. Michi Johnson started his career in the 2020-2021 season at Ohio State. Played 2 years at Ohio State, transferred to South Carolina, played 2 seasons at South Carolina, the last year's being the really good year, transferred back to Ohio State this year, played 10 games, was hurt or was granted like a mental, basically like a medical red shirt for like mental health stuff, and decided to transfer back to South Carolina.
Why not? Double Marfo, baby.
So there's 2 years at Ohio State, 2 years at South Carolina, another sort of year at back at Ohio State, and now his final season back at South Carolina. Maybe they'll be a little better next year, but this year they get an F.
Why not? F stamp from Hoops and me. Next, LSU. I'm probably. I mean, they literally only won one more game than South Carolina in the league. I'm probably just gonna go D minus. Yeah.
I don't. What's our boy's name? The coach there.
He came down from Moorhead. I'm trying to.
It doesn't feel like that's. This might be it.
Matt Mahan.
Matt Mahan.
Yeah.
I
think he's. Yeah, they seem to like. I think they're trying to go pretty hard right now in the portal. It's like
they need to do something.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like we might be a year away. Could be sooner for McMahon. We'll see. Texas. I'm going to go. Just because Trey Johnson was really good, and granted, they did beat Kentucky. I'll just give them a D, straight up. Mainly because, Trey Johnson. You just got a new ball coach that's going to all flip.
It's like you made the tournament as a play-in, but so like that's got to stand for something. Part of me feels like they deserve better than a D for that, but it's like I think my gut went to like C minus, but like a really disappointing C. You've got a guy who's going to be a lottery pick on your team, and that's the best you could do.
Yeah.
Rodney Terry, that's right. The former coach.
R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. Sorry that didn't work for you, but man, this was probably your best shot if you had a lottery pick on your team. So yeah,
sorry,
tough, disappointing year for Texas.
I guess maybe for context purposes for everybody, like basically every team we're going to be rattling off at this point all made the tournament, which of course is maybe in some way you could say if they made the tournament, like maybe the floor should be. I don't know. Oklahoma, I'll give them a C minus.
Yeah, that feels about right. C minus.
Yeah, not overly impressive.
Again, it's like this is kind of a difficult exercise from here on out with how incredible this conference was this year.
Yeah, you're probably grasping at straws.
You made the tournament, but like at any point this year were Oklahoma fans like feeling that great about their team? They had some talent, but I'd say probably a C plus maybe.
Vanderbilt, I'll go. Granted, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. These next 4 teams all finished 8 and 10. You know what? I'll give Vanderbilt a C plus.
Yeah, I think this is a trend. I'm going to be maybe a little friendlier. I'd say B minus, just considering what
you're feeling good tonight. I like it.
What last year was for them and the end of the Stackhouse era, and like all things considered, pretty good bounce back year for Vanderbilt. I guess I'd say about B minus.
That's fair. Yeah. Georgia, Mike White.
Weird year.
Yeah, I'm probably going to stick around that C minus range.
Yeah, I don't feel like I can give them a B. I think Mike White, man, you've been given a lot of opportunities in this league, and I know Georgia is not basketball stock that Florida had, but like You couldn't really do it at Florida. This was year 3 at Georgia.
Year 3 or 4. But he's into that like, hey, something's got to give.
Yeah, it kind of feels like at this point we kind of know who Mike White is.
Yeah,
and they're they had their games. They beat Florida, but it just felt like any game outside of they were just a completely different team if they weren't playing in Athens this year, and can't take it on the road. That docks you. I'd say C+.
Mississippi State 8-10, 21-13. I'm just kind of another like probably a C- honestly for me. There was just a lot of games that I thought that they would like buck up to the challenge, and it just didn't seem like they really brought their boxing gloves with them to a lot of games. I mean, they brought it against Kentucky when Kentucky was in town, but thankfully, the Cats got out with the win. But otherwise, like any other real big game that you felt like was a heavyweight, or what you would think naturally feel like a heavyweight battle, just I don't know. They end up like losing by double digits, and you're kind of like scratching your head and just wondering like what's going down in Starkville with
it's like I don't know if it hits quite the same for them. They probably hang their hat on the fact that they won both of the Egg Bowl matchups this year against Ole Miss.
Sure, that's
like
for
those
some
were
people,
their
that's all
those
that
were
matters.
For folks in that state, that rivalry is all that matters. So, but no, I agree. I think with the way Chris Jans and the way they'd been kind of becoming more competitive, and they had a few games where they kept it close with some teams, but really outside of beating Ole Miss twice, I really pretty disappointing. I'd say C+, B- somewhere in there.
Yeah, I really thought with Riley Kugel transferring in from Florida, you had him with the combination of Cameron Matthews and Josh Herbert. I really thought they would have been different. They just kind of piddled around, didn't really do it. All right, con man, Hogs. I will immediately say regular season F. Postseason, somehow by the grace of God, I'll give that man a B+.
It's like what a difficult. I guess
shocker. That's how it went. Yeah, shocker. But
I guess I'd probably give it a B, just for the whole thing. For the team that they had on paper, and the sheer amount of talent and the money spent in NIL, that's a super disappointing B to me. But you made it to the Sweet 16 and you almost beat Tech. I mean, with a absolute horrible collapse. Maybe that docks them a little more, but but you still got to the second weekend, and so I guess a B.
I think we're being very generous. But Seth Greenberg says that was the best coaching job of his career. What do I know?
Dude, Seth Greenberg is someone hose down Seth Greenberg.
Yeah, hose my boy. I will bring a hose. I will do that. I'm spraying him for 24 hours straight. Like, chill, dog.
Or just a squirt gun. Just, hey, shut up. Shut up, Seth.
Spray bottle. All right, we'll save the Cats in Tennessee. I mean, there's a couple more teams, but just because the Cats are not too far away, we'll save them to the end. Mizzou. I'm actually going to give Mizzou. I'm going to give them a B+. Like, I know they finished 10-8 in the regular season or in conference. Did they lose first round?
Yeah, to Drake.
I'm going to give them a B+ simply for how they turned around from last year, and how you came from the bottom of the pit, didn't win a conference game last year, to sign some dudes. You really pulled that thing in. Yeah, and you flipped it around. End up finishing 22-12.
Mm-hmm.
They were 18-2 at home. Like,
Yeah.
absolute wagon at home.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll give them a B plus.
Yeah, I feel B plus. If they maybe won a game or two in the tournament, I could talk myself into an A minus just given
I
what
agree.
last year was. And that they ran into Drake first round. Drake's like, what, as much as Missouri wants to push it, Drake's like, slow it down, grind it out, and the game just ended up going Drake's way. So I don't know. I if I'm a Missouri fan, I feel pretty good after this season that Dennis Gates maybe is the real deal. So yeah, B plus feels good.
Pay the man, keep him around. All right, let's jump over Cats real quick. We'll get up to Ole Miss. Chris Beard, 24-12, went to the Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm.
Lose a close one to Michigan State. If you throw out the 10-8 conference record, kind of the same thing. Home wise, finished 13-3.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give them an A minus.
That's exactly what I'm feeling. I think we're pretty much lockstep. I mean, I think you had your lots of continuous. There's always the conversation of, is Beard. It's not kind of a matter of if, but when Beard leaves. He's already flirted with and reportedly said no to A&M.
Yeah.
As of today. But they had a good year. They lost to some. yeah. I mean, they really didn't have any like really bad. I mean, they lost to Auburn by like 30, and Florida by about 20. But other than that, they were competitive in almost every game. Made it to the second weekend of the tournament. I mean, with kind of a team without like a real star, it's kind of like who's got it tonight, and they had a really good year. A minus feels about right to me.
I was gonna say one dude who transferred in from Vanderbilt. Oh shoot, what's his face? I'm looking at the roster real quick to see if I can find him. He played center. Malik Dia.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
He was good. Showed some flashes at Vanderbilt last year, and then just kind of all of a sudden was like, oh, you can rain threes flat-footed from deep. This guy. A&M, I'm going to go F, because all they like to do is play football when they play basketball and injure everybody's star players. No, honestly, I'll give them a C minus. Honestly, just for you basically returned all of your dudes from last year. I don't know if they may have lost a guy or two from the portal, but otherwise, pretty sure you returned everybody. They know your system. They know how to run your offense, how to run your defense. What's the expectation? And then you still finished 23-11 and lost in the first round. Or
second
they
round.
Lose in the second round.
Second round to Michigan.
Then Buzz leaves, and again, we've already went over all that stuff of just that's kind of what Buzz does. He graduates from a school after a couple of years, and then I don't know. I wonder if like if your dad or Bill were on here, like what would they say? They may grade it different. They may give it more. I'm just kind of in the like, I think you could have done more there. So I'm gonna go C minus.
Yeah, a lot of talent on this team. I mean, they retired Wade Taylor's number like the last game of the season, I think. Like that's a pretty special. Like you have to think a lot of a guy if you're retiring his number.
They did the thing.
Still an active player. Yeah, I mean, they finished the regular season losing 5 of their last 7. It's you did enough to get a 4 seed, but yeah, all things considered, given the talent, I think you'd have to be pretty disappointed as an A&M fan, and I don't know. I haven't really talked to my dad that much about Buzz leaving yet, but I don't think many Aggie fans are that bummed about it. So, with all that being said, I guess I'd say like B minus C plus. You were a 4 seed. You won a game in the NCAA tournament. Probably should have been better.
Yeah. I'm going to group these 3 real quick, and one of them probably you can split hairs over. So Bama, Florida, Auburn. Those are your top 3. Bama ends up losing to Duke in the Elite 8. Florida and Auburn are obviously playing each other in the Final Four. I'll probably give Bama. Honestly, I'm probably going to stick with an A for them, even though if you probably talk to a Bama fan or if you talk to Nate Oates, they may tell you they may feel like it's a failure because we returned a lot of dudes from last year's run.
Mm-hmm.
Could have made the Final Four again. I'm just giving them an A for the sake of you made it to the second weekend again with a lot of dudes. Yep. I could see somebody's perspective if they were like, well, maybe B plus at most because we end up getting smoked by Duke and end up getting beat by you got 20 piece, end up scoring in the 60s and weren't able to essentially run the offense you wanted to, but maybe it's more credit to Duke. I didn't get to see a box score. Didn't they launch almost 43s against Duke? And it was I don't even know if they made it.
Well, I'm sure they were still feeling themselves after 2 days previous shooting 51 threes against BYU and making 26 of them or something like that. Yeah, A feels right to me. Coming off a Final Four run, it felt like a tiny bit of a letdown this year. I know they had a few injuries, but hard to dock them much. I mean, you ran into Duke, who's probably
they very well could win it.
I mean, I picked them too. I think they will. I'm pretty excited to watch this Final Four. I think between these 4, and Duke is. Everyone has been saying it this year that this doesn't feel like a normal Duke team in the sense of they're so likable.
Yeah, I was gonna say because John Shire's actually likable and he's not.
Yeah, they're really fun to watch, and they play really good basketball, and they don't really. It's other than the fact that they're wearing Duke jerseys,
sure,
these guys are awesome and really fun to watch, and don't feel very Dukey. So to me, losing by 20 to Duke, I don't fault you that much for it, but yeah, A maybe even an A minus for Bama, but still really good season.
And then probably fair to say Florida and Auburn at this point, it's A is the floor.
Yeah.
A plus is if you make it to the title game.
Yeah.
Or you win it.
I say both of them. You have to say A plus. It's both have just had fantastic seasons. Not perfect, but just fantastic, and have had good runs to the Final Four. And yeah, I think anything. I think you just gotta say A plus.
Yeah, hats off to them. And like you said, I'm excited for as much as we joked about of course you went all chalk, but it's I think at the end of the day, is that not all we kind of want? Yeah,
that's what I want.
I'll be honest.
If it's not my team, I just want the best. I want to watch the best basketball.
Yeah,
and
I want to watch 4 heavyweight teams box it out and see who wins the title. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, you want I mean, you wouldn't want that for the Super Bowl. You wouldn't want that for whatever, because I think you would agree with this. History-wise, when we have seen a Cinderella make some deep run like George Mason did years ago, VCU, whoever, San Diego State, when they ran into
NC State last
UConn.
year.
Right. You know what normally happens when those dudes make it to the Final Four of the championship game? They get smoked by
the journey.
whatever.
The journey's so fun, but when they get to the destination, they get smoked. And that's not fun. Nobody wants to see that.
No, and we all know it. But like deep down, you're like, but like, what if
it's
like,
fun?
Wow. It is fun. And no, I'm not going to take it away from anybody. Like deep down, like sure, when that ball is tipped and you got San Diego State and UConn playing each other, you're like, San Diego State, they just might do it, by God. And then after 15 minutes, you're like, uh-oh.
Nope.
This wasn't going to happen ever.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm glad it's chalk. It'll be fun. Well, that leaves us with the cats and the balls. How about this? I want you, simply because the balls made it to the Elite Eight, there's probably a little bit more sentimental value for you personally with Zakai, Deacon, Jemai, whoever else you want to highlight. I want you to talk about them. I think a bigger portion of our listening audience, definitely Tennessee fans, versus my cousin who still rips me about like you had the dumbest bracket on the planet. Like, yeah, fair point. I'll talk about the cast real quick. So I think in context, ultimately, I would give Pope and the Cats. I'd give them an A- for the year, which
that's exactly what I would give them.
An A would have been had they beaten Tennessee, gotten into the Elite Eight. I think at that point, an A is the floor. A- because of you put a team together in roughly 5 weeks. You get hired at the end of April. You just got to put a team together full of misfits, and they're all graduate seniors. You had 2 guys technically who were incoming freshmen that weren't even guaranteed to come play for you. It just was they were 2 Kentucky kids, and
they weren't part of the plan this year.
But you saw something in them of like, this could be a longer term thing if they're willing to stick around, which I know is a year by year case with any player who's younger. If you're like, you willing to stick around and try to make this thing work. So multiple injuries. Jackson gets hurt. Kerr gets hurt. Lamont is playing with basically one arm about half the season. Then it comes out like Amari got hurt in a practice during the NCAA tournament run. So, Andrew Carr was hurt. It just, you go the list. We looked like a nursing home. So, all those things, and then you still figure out how to win the most top 25 games in Kentucky program history in year one. Win against Tennessee twice. You beat Duke. You beat Gonzaga. You beat Florida. I know I'm missing another team here and there, but like Mississippi State when they were all those things of just
A&M.
Like you figured out how to win top 25 matchups. When it mattered for the most part. And then the thing that kind of hurts him is the thing that has always followed Pope, which is he just kind of loses some clunkers, and you're like, the hell was that? When they get 20-some piece by Ohio State and New York.
I forgot about that one.
So dumb. You get, ran out of the gym basically in Oxford at Ole Miss, and a little bit that was a turning point. Like Pope punches a wall or some drawing board down there, and I only know that because there was like a picture of literally this like massive gash in his hand, and they asked him about it. He was like, "Yeah, I'll just let y'all know it got a little heated in there, and somebody needs to buy a new clipboard for Ole Miss, whatever." So he, but I think for again 5-week period, you're just trying to put pieces together, new staff, nobody returning, 0 points. It was really hard to not feel pretty pretty excited. I think moving forward in a high level of, gratitude. Obviously just losing in general stinks when your season comes to an end.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I had said it to you and some others. I was in the camp of I didn't have them beating Illinois in the second game, picking my bracket. I thought that was just a terrible matchup because I thought Illinois looked a very similar style of basketball and just player wise to Alabama, and they got canned by Bama twice. Actually, sorry, 3 times. Definitively when they would square up against them. And so in my head, I'm like, if you win the second game, it's just gravy at that point. And Tennessee game, they just got dog walk. And in some way, I was a little surprised, but then somehow in the same space, I wasn't, because I do feel like, objectively, if you step back, Tennessee's just a better team. Better guys, talent-wise, better returning players, just better defense, a lot more cohesiveness, quite frankly, of guys who have played with each other for several years versus Jackson Robertson and Ainsley Almanor, who you got one BYU guy and a guy from Fairleigh Dickinson they've only been hanging out and playing with each other for 4 months. In some way, I'm like, how you pulled it off twice, I don't really know. But I do think that there was a little bit of the, I'm sure, from the Tennessee side, some chip on your shoulder of that was dumb. We shouldn't have done that. And time to get my late back, basically. So, and they did it. Kudos to them. I walked in Broadacres the entire second half. Just listened to the radio call. And it's, I will say, as I told Dee Dee when I walked back in the house, so it's really hard to be mad when you're walking uphill, trying to catch your breath after walking 3 miles. Hard for me to feel anything other than just pure, hey, I need a water. Somebody hose me down with an ice bucket because I try to catch my breath. So it was good. I needed to do that for my own mental health and not take it out on, you guys, Dee Dee, whoever. It's
drywall.
I'm just going to go on a walk, trying to figure out some other ways to be an adult rather than, looking at my drywall and seeing the sweat drops pour down my wall, being like, please don't, not again. And then sometimes you go to church and you get called out by one of your pastors from up front. Okay, yikes. And maybe you yell out from the crowd and say, bro, I'm about to walk out. My wife and kids can Uber back home, but I'm about to leave, bro.
This church stinks.
Bro, this place stinks. If you're a pastor to listen to this and you're looking for a new member, I'm not saying I'll join, but I might come one Sunday.
Yeah, that was wild. I was sitting there for that. Your own pastor buried Kentucky.
But why? I shouldn't. Why was I shouldn't have been surprised. Of course that happened.
Yeah, it's kind of their bag. It's kind of what they do.
That's just what they do, bro. They just take shots at the congregation, and you can't really do anything about it. They do it on their show. It's whatever. And then I did one of these right here when he sat down. And
turned around, the little middle finger nose scratch move. Yeah. Classic move. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. Anyway. So that's me. I don't know grade wise if you're seems about right. I mean, you could even say a C, but
no, I would say A-2. I mean, I think considering everything, new coach, completely rebuilt roster, not a single returning player. You beat Duke, you beat Tennessee twice, you beat Florida, all the injuries. And you go to the Sweet 16, I know the expectations at Kentucky are loftier, and a Sweet 16, shoot, Kentucky's seen a million Sweet 16s. So but to me, if I was a Kentucky fan, which I think I've got a decent grasp of where your head's at in your fandom, but like I'll be like, you know what? That's a good first year. Even you could say really good first year considering everything. So A- feels pretty good, all things considered.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's talk Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee, man. I'm still reeling a bit from Sunday, especially from that first half against Houston. But looking at the whole season, I'd say A. I would give us an A. Just you lose maybe the best player, at least in the last 25, 30 years, who took us to the Elite Eight. I'm not going to say by himself last year, but like that team was live or die by Dalton Connect last year.
Sure.
You lose that guy. That's a huge loss. Big hole to fill. Barnes goes out in the portal, figures out a way to get Chaz, Igor. Big. I mean, to me, I don't think he got enough credit this year, but Felix Okpara, bringing him in from Ohio State to replace Adu, who left, and Okpara he got so much better as the season went on. I think he just really like bought into Barnes's just philosophy on defense and what we want for you. And he and Zakai developed such a great, like Barnes, sneaky, pretty good portal guy since all this has become more mainstream the last few years. So like all that to taking all that into account, and you got a whole bunch of new guys playing a lion's share of minutes together, and you go back to the Elite Eight, and you don't win the SEC, but you go, you're a top 4 team there at the end. You go to the SEC championship. You beat Auburn in the semifinal. Like we were like, to me, to finish in the Elite Eight feels about, I don't want to say feels right, because I really believe it. If we played Houston 10 times, I don't know that we beat them 5 or 6 times, but I think we beat them maybe 3, maybe 4.
Sure.
I know we were good enough to at least play a heck of a lot better than what we played in that game, which is what made it so disappointing. Like I think going into that Elite Eight game, I felt very confident. Like they're really good. There's a reason they're a 1 seed. There's a reason they are, in the Final Four. There was something put out there about these Final Four teams that since Ken Palm started doing his rankings, and since like the late 90s, he's kind of like a little bit of like sacred text of, if you're good on the Ken Palm rankings, you are a really good team. That these Final Four teams this year are 4 of like the 8 or 9 or 10 best Ken Palm rated teams ever, and 4 of them are these Final Four teams. So it's like all that.
What are you gonna do?
I mean, Houston is they play a similar game to us, play really good defense, and just feels like they just did it better than we did. They came out and punched us in the mouth, but you kind of said it in regards to like the Tennessee-Kentucky game. Like you got punched in the mouth from the jump. You were stunned, and you got in a hole pretty quickly, and it was against a team that isn't going to let you out of a hole.
Yeah.
So, we played a lot better in the second half, and there was even a point where we cut the lead. It was 40-50. And you kind of thought, if we get like one big stop, come back down and score, cut it to single, like who knows? Like maybe we have a shot here. And kudos to Houston. They just said, heck no. We're going to come hit a dagger 3 in your face now. And so I was so bummed watching. It's one thing to lose once again, just short of the Final Four. But man, watching Zakai and Jemai and Jordan Gainey, but specifically Zakai and Jemai, like those two guys who've been here for 4 years and we're just like, yeah, there's nothing more you could ask from those guys in terms of what they've brought to Tennessee in terms of just their work ethic and connection with the fans, and won a lot of ball games. And if just talking Zakai, like set records, both of them were up for Defensive Player of the Year. They were, 2 of the 4 finalists for it. And I know number 5 just got retired for Chris Lofton, and Zakai got the honor of being the last guy to ever wear number 5. If Zakai's jersey isn't hanging up in those rafters in a few years, like somebody's messed up. I mean, that guy.
Do you put Zakai's name right there on the same banner, or does he get his own individual one?
I think you give him his own banner. Hang 2 5s up there. Okay. Shoot, while we're at it, throw Admiral's 5 up there. No, but
just don't hang it upside down, please.
Just don't hang it upside down. I mean, Zakai Ziegler has, to me, separated himself into a very, very special, rare air of athletes from this school, from any sport, not just basketball. I mean, he's my favorite Tennessee basketball player ever. I mean, I've only been doing this as a Tennessee fan for about 15, 16 years now. Gone back and watched plenty from before, but I didn't know that anybody would ever jump Admiral Schofield in my book, and Sakai did it pretty quickly. I mean, just his story, being practically unrecruited, nobody recruited him out of New York, and coming to this team as a backup for Kennedy Chandler, basically, and very quickly, even as a backup, his freshman year, just becoming like special and different, and such a good leader, despite his size and everything he accomplished. I mean, I could go all day talking about how much I love that guy and everything he brought. So it just sucked to see it end that way, and see how emotional he was, and getting off the court, like apologizing to Barnes, and how, like, I'm so sorry, coach, that because they wanted it for Barnes just as much. And just really sweet seeing, Barnes tell him, like, you got nothing to be sorry about, man. You have nothing to ever be sorry about with me.
Yeah.
Oh man, tear jerking stuff. So really, disappointing end when you felt like this, we're probably, like, objectively, we were a tier below, like, the very best teams this year. But pretty much everyone in that top tier, we beat half of them at least once. So it's all things considered, Rick Barnes has he's the best, man. He's the best that this school's ever seen. He not only revived the program and brought it back from basically death, but taken it to the highest it's ever been. With respect to Bruce Pearl, but sure. Rick's the best to ever do it here. And a lot down the stretch, it kind of felt like this was kind of it for Barnes, that, kind of, you would think, how could he not go out with Zakai and Jemai and Gainey? And but he kind of dispelled those rumors. He's coming back. He's very involved with rebuilding this new team. There's some guys in the portal, some pretty good players that have been, predicted and connected to Tennessee. And so I'll be really interested to see what a pretty much completely new look. I mean, there'll be a few returning faces. Akpara and JP Estrella will be back, and a few other guys. But for the most part, we'll be a even more new look team next year. And Barnes is going to be back for it. And I don't know, is next year the last year? It's hard to think that there's maybe 2 years left, but I just feel lucky that this guy's our coach and that he's just done such a wonderful job. It's only thing more you could ask for is a Final Four, and it's dang hard to get to a Final Four. Back-to-back years, you've lost to really, really, really good teams, and it's hard to be that critical of it. But man, I would love to see him do it before he hangs it up here, because he's the best we've ever had, and I think he deserves it. So,
sure.
All that to be said, just another fantastic season. I'm glad it's not the end for Barnes, and we can keep this thing rolling. But yeah, it does feel like the end, it feels like the end of a book, and now we're kind of like maybe in the epilogue, sort of, because Barnes can't do this much longer. So
yeah. There you go. If only Zakai and Meshack and those fellas were on here. Listen to you talk about them like that, which I know you're not the only one. Like, there's hundreds of other Tennessee fans that feel the same way. But obviously, if it's almost like you had said it for me, if like I get a little bit of a vision of your brain and like how you see it, it's just in some way I feel like that's what hopefully a player could want, is to hear the things that like you say and our boys say in group text of just like how you guys feel about. Thank you for giving a rip, for playing hard. You didn't have to come to this university. You didn't have to come play for Deacon. If I had to guess, like probably for the last year or two, I'm not saying this as if like I know anything, but just knowing the roundabout way of how college basketball works, I wouldn't have been shocked if they had been shopped by other teams and have been offered like, hey, if you're looking for a place, you're looking for more money, like we got a spot. Like just saying kind of thing. That stuff happens back channel wise, and kind of the thing that like we won't ever really hear about other than if you're on paywall sites that insider like know somebody kind of thing. But it's like I only say that because it's literally happening now with the portal with every team. And so all I'll say is like kudos to those guys. They didn't have to stay in Knoxville. And as I often say, and I will stand 10 toes down every single time, living here in God's country, it's a lot more fun when everybody's a little bit peppier. And part of that is fine when it rides on like the life or death of their ball club. And like I like when my friends are happy, and stinks when your team loses. And we all kind of joke we get to mourn in some way together for 48 hours. In some way I was kind of like, I'm going to keep watching basketball, but I was like, I ain't really going to talk about it.
Oh yeah. But I stopped looking at my brackets. Who cares? Who cares? Thank goodness though. Big Bill was very quick to remind me the other day that
your daddy's
he's in first place. Yeah. He's currently leading the gold standard. My wife though, she's not far behind. She's still, I think she's got like a 30% chance of winning.
Ooh.
God, Big Bill can't win. Come on.
He keeps getting away with it. He could. Him, Aaron, or top listener Kelsey Sherrod could, with arguably the best bracket, end up winning the whole thing. Well, I don't know what's going to happen. Well, I don't know the point thing and like how it really works within ESPN. She's got 880. Bill and Aaron are at 920. I mean, I guess was going to say maybe she can win, but Bill also picked Houston. So, I mean, hypothetically, if
Yeah, I mean, Aaron, if the Florida Gators
I
do
guess
it.
this might do it. So he picked Auburn and Houston to play each other. She has Florida and Houston. So I guess that would be your difference, unless Aaron Logan pulls. Well, Florida would have to win it, I guess, for her because she had Florida and Tennessee. So yeah, those are your top three. Everybody else, hey, shout out to Dee.
Shout out to
Want to give
Dee.
her fourth place. At one point,
Generally speaking.
Yeah, literally in my life. Just shout out. I want to give a shout out to myself for not being in last place, for picking the dumbest bracket known to mankind. Not in last place.
Who is in last place? Let's see.
Razor.
Darn.
Teacock's just a smidge in front of him.
Oof.
Couldn't be me.
Not Razor's best showing.
No. I can't wait to dissect. Like, why is he in last compared to mine? I picked Montana. How does this guy end up not being in last place? And he picked two teams that got beaten. Grisbillies got beaten the first game.
Oh, brother.
McNeese State. That was my other team, brother.
It's tough.
Anyway,
what are your final four picks here? Who will be in the championship and who will win?
Yeah, I'm gonna. This kind of pains me to say. I think Duke is gonna win against Houston. I think hard for me to pick against Florida, if I'm honest. Just from a offensive power standpoint, knowing they can kind of just rattle off a run at any given moment. We've watched them do it twice.
Mm-hmm.
Did against UConn, did against Texas Tech, and I think between Florida and Duke, it's nauseating to some degree. I'm probably going to end up picking Duke.
I think I'm pretty lockstep with you. I think Duke will beat Houston. I feel less confident about picking that game, Duke Houston. I just think the way Houston defends, and if they shoot it all like they shot against us, I mean, the game before their Sweet 16 game against Purdue, it was a scratch and claw. I think they won like 60-58 against Purdue. They didn't shoot well. They still found a way to do it. They can't do that against Duke. They have to shoot like they did against Tennessee. If they shoot well, they've got a chance. I just think they defend and rebound so well, and I think they've got bodies that can really defend Cooper Flagg. I feel less confident about that than I do about Florida Auburn. I think Florida's dang good, and this is definitely shaded by the fact that, like, I'm sorry to my brother Jamie, this Auburn team is just I can't stand them. Chad Baker Mazzara and Broom gets injured for 5 minutes and everyone's sobbing, crying, and he comes back up. I mean, it felt like less than 5 minutes, and he's back out on the court scoring.
It feels like a little bit of
I
was gonna say it feels script like a WWE script. Like, oh, he got hurt again. Oh, he's back. 5 minutes later, he's back.
And of course, like, I hate Florida because they're Florida, but like, they don't have any guys that just piss me off like Auburn does. I'm sorry, Jamie. But I mean, yeah, I think Florida wins that one. I feel pretty confident about it. So yeah, I have Duke over Florida in the final. I think that's the game that will be just doesn't get any better.
Yeah.
Appointment television, watching those two play.
If you can't get into that game, then
yeah,
check your pulse, bro. I don't know if you'll. When will you get into college?
Yeah.
Couldn't be us. Could not imagine. So, well, man, it was a good episode. We're creaking into that late night hours real quick. So to you, the listening audience, like, I don't know what's going to happen from here. We might go into hibernation. We'll see. I don't know. We might poke our heads out as we enter into the off season, and maybe we talk a little bit about. I would say probably in a month and a half, everybody should kind of know what their rosters look like.
Yeah,
some stuff changes in the summer, but otherwise, like, should be squared away. We'll give a little preview because I will tell you this right now. I'm damn sure ain't gonna talk about football. I'd much rather talk about college hoops for the next 5.5 months. Couldn't be me watching football this fall. Skid mark, gotta go. Yeah, that's a different episode. Maybe if I had a Patreon, I would pop off about it. But
eyes emoji.
I don't know if I have.
I don't know.
Who's to say? Yeah, I'm going to talk about hoops. So what? We'll see. We'll let y'all know if we decide to put an episode, or we may holler at some people to do a guest host stuff. But
Ooh,
I don't know. Big Bill, Kelsey, they've hollered like quite a bit of like, hey, when am I going to be on?
The entitlement? What?
Oh, I wasn't thinking entitlement.
Oh, like they expect to be on?
Good point.
It's our show.
I don't think that they were expecting. Well, maybe.
The way you said that was the vibe I just got.
Maybe I've read it wrong the entire time. I didn't take it that way. I think it was more like they're just like, hey, give me a chance. When are I going to be on the show? You know, understandably, especially for Big Bill. Like, he's gotten a lot of shots from me.
Here's what I want to know.
Entire last season.
Why should we let you?
Ooh.
Why? If there's a good reason, maybe I'll consider it.
Maybe if you'll pay for the next month for us to not have to wait 30 days for, you know, the free option.
Yeah.
You
may see all the sponsors at the bottom of our screen, but believe you me, we ain't paying for
No.
We gonna do the free version of this.
Damn, you could pay up and we'll throw you in there. Maybe. I love that you said entitlement. I had no earthly thought of the entitlement. These people. Sheesh.
I don't know. I've never listened to a podcast of people I enjoy listening to and thought, hey, when can I be on? Just me. That's just my
I'm just
my opinion.
Just imagining you talking into or messaging Bill, what's his face, up at Northeast. Why am I blanking? I was that Celtics fan.
Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons, like you writing into Bill Simmons, like, hey, I've been listening to you for like over 2 decades. When are you gonna let me on?
Since high school. Yeah, I'm ready to talk. Yeah. No. Why would he want that?
Yeah, you know what? Good point. This guy's been listening to me a long time. This is the first time he's ever written it. You know what?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not? All right, dude. It was fun. We'll let the people know. See if we have some people on. So cheers to us. Cheers to college basketball. May whoever you all picked in the Final Four for national championship winning. Maybe you make some coin from this.
It's the hope that kills you. Ready to get hurt again next year.
Oh, can't wait, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Until then, I'm Big Papa.
Bobby Hoops.
That's Bobby Hoops. See you, gang.